From the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast. Studio 665 presents Masonic Light Podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons. It is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering. This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 133, or something like that, 133.
133. No.
Masonic Light Podcast. 133. And tonight's guest is going to be Brother Jaime Paul Lamb.
Ta-da.
Which you guys are going to hear after this, but we recorded it before this, but you'll never know.
You told them you are in the Matrix now. Yes.
So, hey, everybody, welcome. So it's... What is going on? It's what month is it? It's February.
It's February.
February. Yeah. It's good. It's good times. We're going to go around the room and we're going to see what everybody's been up to. Then we're going to hear from our guest, Jaime Paul Lamb. We're going to talk to our friend Walter, and then I don't know what else. So, Larry, what have you been up to lately, Masonically?
I'm trying to. I think we had a stated meeting, right? Yeah, yep. We did. You weren't there.
I boycotted it.
Yeah, you boycotted. Josh wasn't. He must have boycotted it too. We had that. It was successful. We had a nice attendance, which was great. Second meeting. Goose and Gridiron. We did that. That's pretty much it.
Larry's working from notes. I just want everyone to know Larry's working from notes right now.
Well, this is for our interview for Jaime Paul.
Oh, no. I'm looking at your phone screen, Larry.
Oh,
You're working from notes.
That's the closing.
I see how it is. I see how it is now. Fine.
Jack, what have you been up to since our last recording?
Well, I missed the last one.
You were on hiatus or assignment.
Yeah, I had to stand down for a bit. Yeah. But since then, I've attended the installation of the Right Worshipful Grand
Deputy
Grand Master.
Who does number 2 work for? The Right Worshipful.
The Right Worshipful.
Yes,
okay. Right. So anyway, Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master Larry A. Durr. And Larry, I'm especially fond of Larry. Larry and he started as district deputy the year I took the East in Ephrata Lodge. So it was kind of, we kicked off our separate roles together. And it's just cool to see him climbing that chain. It's not easy to do. And then after that, we had our February meeting at Ephrata Lodge. And it was our visitation from the Right Worshipful District Deputy, not Right Worshipful, just right. District Deputy Grand Master. Got it. Okay. It's purple, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the District Deputy Grand Master came to our lodge, and he brought most of the officers of the other lodges in the district. And we had a full house. It was packed to the walls. It was fantastic. And I, once again, am just super proud of my brothers and the work that they did. The officers, they're just dedicated young men, and I want a special shout out to Jimmy Diener, who is a
super fan
of the show. We love Jimmy, but Jimmy is junior deacon in our lodge, and the master called him to the East to give the opening charge for the meeting, and you know what the opening charge sounds like, probably. And Jimmy...
I was thinking we should have grabbed him after that and had him come down here and put him on the spot and do it live.
I'm going to Disney World. He was so over the moon. Anyway,
because that can be recorded, so you can do it live.
He so nailed that opening charge. It's the only time I've ever seen in an open lodge, that the person walking back to his station from giving the opening charge got a round of applause from everybody on the sidelines. It was absolutely.
He's such a likable guy.
And everybody knew how hard he had tried.
Oh,
and how hard he had worked.
Gosh, it was so awesome.
Yeah,
it was
it
just
really was.
it's what that part of this fraternity is supposed to be, and it gave him something that's just absolutely priceless, and I'm so proud. So that's where I'm at, and then we're here recording this mess again, and who knows what comes next.
Josh, what have you been up to since you missed your meeting? Have you done anything?
No, I missed the meeting because a coworker that I work very closely with tested positive for COVID. So I just stayed back from the meeting because I figured it would be
Prudent.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah. But no, I haven't really been doing much of anything.
Good past master.
Yeah. I keep missing stuff.
The past master refractory period.
Yes.
No, I got some stuff to work on coming up. So.
Timmy?
Timmy.
I had the pleasure and honor of being installed into the York Rate College, First Capital, on Saturday, January the 29th. It was a high honor, and if you don't know about that organization, it's
too bad.
And too bad. No, it's one of the invite bodies, and I was incredibly impressed with the proceedings. So let's just leave it at that.
Cool.
Very good, and so
Did you get a koozie?
I did not. Did not get a koozie.
Then it wasn't a real event.
Right.
On February the 1st, I had the honor and privilege of being the first program at the newly created and merged Millersville Lodge, number 476.
Yes, you did.
Larry forgot to mention that.
I dissected him.
And had a great response to the program. Sorry that Pete and Josh missed that.
Well, I heard the meeting was going to go 5 hours. So
Yeah, well, actually the program was about 15, 20 minutes. And everybody...
actually, Tim was fantastic. I mean, he was really, really good. And I sent you a text afterwards saying how good he was. He was well received.
Yeah, it was good. It was great to be there. It was great to see another lodge literally filled. And it was great fellowship with the folks down at
And it was full, even without Pete and Josh.
Even without Pete and Josh being there. That's right. I've also, let's see, what else have I been up to? Well, the continual saga of providing assistance, help, aid, and assistance to distressed secretaries and treasurers with the Grandview program. And then the aforementioned installation of Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master Larry A. Durr. Attended that, and then retired with several gentlemen for a impromptu cigar gathering following, which was an amazing opportunity where we actually encountered a couple of potential members from. They heard us talking about Freemasonry and approached us about, so tell me a little bit about that. Well, what do you want to know? And so,
That's how it starts.
An hour later, and we gave them just a snippet. And then they followed up with more questions, and we were.
Did you get the signature? Coffees for closers, Tim.
Well, no, because this is someone we just met, and we don't sign petitions of people.
This is reflective of the Grand Master's new position.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
See, I'm the old school of the one call close. the pizza shop close.
No. That's how we end up we're not guarding the West Gate.
That's how we got Larry.
That's right. So anyway, and then I also had the honor and privilege of attending Ephrata Lodge's stated meeting that Jack referred to, and it was truly a great night. And at some point, Jack, you got to tell us about postage stamps in 1972.
No, I don't.
Let me tell you, in 1974, when I went through, things were a heck of a lot different back then than they are today. And they guarded the West Gate very, very closely, and they beat the big devil out of you one way or the other, even after they let you in the West Gate. So I just let it sit right there.
Absolutely.
All right, so what was I up to? I went to
Breeding.
Junto Council.
Being grandpa.
Junto Council of the Allied Masonic Degrees. We had our meeting, which is always falls on the 5th Sunday. which, do your math there, it just happens randomly, where I was presented and roasted at the same time. I was presented with my past thrice illustrious master's jewel and subsequently roasted because they yelled at me because my attendance at council is not good enough for them to give it to me at that body. So I did that. It's always a fun meeting. Other than that, I have been busy. My foster Doberman had 12 puppies, and just trying to keep 12 animals alive is fun. They're at the age now where they're almost 3 weeks old. They're starting to bark and growl at each other, and they're completely harmless, so it's adorable. But by 8 weeks, it's going to be like having like the gremlins you fed after midnight in a room.
But you also raised a lot of money for the shelter.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're trying to do a name game, and so far, like as of this afternoon, $1,000. People sent in like $1,000 submitting $5 for a name. And I was telling these guys at dinner, I appreciate all the suggestions, but I'm running this selection like the Democratic Party of the 1980s. I am a super delegate, and my vote is worth more than yours. But no, we're going to pick 12 names. I also was here last night for the Ephrata Lodge Stated Meeting, and I would say the first hour of the meeting was one of the best meetings I've really ever been to. So
what do you think about postage stamps from 1972?
Because I'll just say this. Because of COVID and whatever reasons, lodges have gotten lax on doing the national anthem.
Uh-huh.
When you had a full...
Yes.
How good was that?
We had a full room here last night and a piano player.
Yep.
And the national... who was in key.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and the singer started before the pianist,
and he caught up.
And he hit the right key.
Yep.
Yes. So
he was a music teacher at Ephrata High School.
So he was able to catch up with a bunch of losers. But it sounded really good. And
it was amazing.
And Brother Ron, who's our district deputy, who's a past master of my lodge, another gentleman that I've seen come up through the line, surpass me, and become my district deputy. He is so comfortable, and from seeing all these officers that he interacts with all the time, he's really become really good friends with all these men in all the lines. And it's just nice watching him be so social with everybody. It was a great meeting. There was a guy that got his 50-year emblem of gold. Ron nailed that piece of ritual perfectly, and the guy, he was the most fit-looking 50-year member I've ever seen. When he got a lecture on stamps for 15 minutes, and he had to hold a 32-inch diagonal plaque. He really did well. He must have kept up with his cardio at Atlantis Woods.
Very fit.
It was a great meeting. So they always do a good job here at Ephrata, and everybody kissed Jack's ring, and it was beautiful.
It really was. He had a seat of honor, and people just came by and knelt and kissed and.
Genuflexed,
yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we are going to hear from our guest, Brother Jaime Paul Lamb.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. From planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
And we're back with our guest, Jaime Paul Lamb. Jaime, thanks for being with us again. You're going to be a regular here pretty soon.
Third time.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks so much, brethren, for having me back.
So your career didn't completely tank after you were on our show?
No.
Okay.
It was steady as she goes.
Excellent.
I mean, of course, COVID came up and kind of derailed a lot of our stuff, but,
Yeah, but
last time.
that's universal. That's a fact. So
right.
So you've got some old things to talk about, some new things to talk about, and Larry wants you specifically to talk about music. So I'm going to let Larry kind of drive the train, and then the rest of the guys will kind of just pick on Larry as we go.
Watch Larry drive the train right off the tracks. There you go. Jaime, it's good to have you back. Like I said, this has been your third visit, and one of the things that we really want to talk about. You're an exceptional writer. You write some very, very good books on some very deep subjects. And you've written 3 books. You've written I have to be able... Oh, shoot. I have to put my glasses on for this.
I could say Myth, Magic, and Masonry is the first one, 2018. Approaching the Middle Chambers, the second one, that's 2020. And then The Archetypal Temple, September of 2021.
Which is your newest book, and you and I talked, I think, back in September when we chatted when the release came out. So yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely. First question I want to ask you: why are your books so expensive?
I don't know. I think they're right in the pocket, though, aren't they? I mean, they're print on demand. I think they're right in the zone. Because let's talk about Approaching the Middle Chamber, because that's the one. That one I think is $28.95.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a 500-page book, Larry. It's almost five.
But Larry's about to say, "But I'm on a fixed income and I can't."
Right.
And secondly,
yeah.
Okay, never mind. We'll talk about that after the show. But no, and to me, the Approaching the Middle Chamber is probably, and of course, I'm just saying this. I think this is probably one of the most fascinating books you've ever written. It is fantastic, especially for jurisdictions who don't really follow through in that lecture. And you give...
By that you mean Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, exactly. So I mean, but anyway, let's talk about your new book. Tell me about it.
So the new book came out last September of 2021, and that was it's called The Archetypal Temple, and it's really a collection of essays, but there's like a unifying theme that kind of runs through it. So, and that theme is let me put it this way. So you look at definitions of Freemasonry and how we define it and how we talk about it, and what is even such fundamental, like first principle questions, like what is a Freemason and things like that. So I kind of drilled into that right in the beginning, saying, kind of what is the central project of Freemasonry? What is Freemasonry? So I thought about that, and I kind of came up with, well, yes, of course we have things like a peculiar system of morality, etc. The stock answers that we give. And then there's the ones that you read in the dictionary, which say, Freemasonry is a group that partakes of Masonic ritual, it's literally that circular. It essentially says Freemasonry is Freemasonry. It doesn't really give you, that's the Oxford online.
That's as clear as it gets, though, man. That's
It's a circle, so circles are nice. Circles are nice and clean, but so I thought about that, and I was like, what's a good way to define it, And I forget exactly what I wrote in the book, but it was, the gist of it is Freemasonry is an art and craft by which the speculative Mason builds a temple. A temple on the various planes, that is to say. So that's what I meant by the archetypal temple. What are we doing if we are not building our temple? And this temple exists on, these various hermetic planes. You have the brick and mortar temple downtown. You've got the historical temple. You've got the classical temple. You've got all these different temple archetypes. You've got the mnemonic temple, which is so important. Like, you know how there's directionality in our memory work. Oh, then I was in the northeast corner and I stood on the first step of a Mason, and then I went to the west, I went to the south, I went to the east. We're constantly oriented in our memorization work, and the reason why is because we're erecting a mnemonic temple in our minds. It's a memory temple, like a memory palace, you know. That's how. So the Masons had this down long ago, before modern people started talking about memory palaces and stuff like that. It's an ancient idea, really. All these mnemonic ideas, like the method loci, they call it, that method of memorization. Anyway, so we've got the mnemonic temple, we've got, you know, the moral and ethical temple that we build with our working tools, which are moral and ethical working tools, you know, rectitude of conduct, square, you know, on the level, etc. The way we describe our moral and ethical tools. What we're building, this temple that is man, that is at once the microcosm that is man, while also being the macrocosm, which is that celestial temple, that house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens, you know? So that's what I meant by this sort of fractal manifestation of the temple archetype, that we as Freemasons, I posit that that's kind of our central project, because we do that on all of those planes. We do that collectively, we do that egregorically, we do that individually, we do that intellectually, we do it morally and ethically, we do it mnemonically, physically, etc. You know, biologically, you know, taking care of your body, mind, body, and spirit. And we have clauses for that sort of stuff in our work, you know. That's kind of like, you know, second order questions and things. But yeah, so that's what the book is about, and a lot of other things. I get into my astrological stuff, but, you know, it's the recurring theme is the microcosm and the macrocosm as it pertains to Masonry particularly, but having these cosmos.
It's interesting that after, I don't know, what, 10,000 years of language, we still don't have words that really effectively describe these concepts of higher spheres and planes of existence and the noose and all of that kind of stuff. We don't have words for it. It's
right.
You can't really describe that kind of a concept.
Or at least we haven't really agreed, right? So it's like if you're talking to a Neoplatonist, or you're talking to a Buddhist, or you're talking to a Christian or a Jew or whoever, you know, you're going to get these different cosmological ideas of what they think the nature and structure of the
right,
cosmos
but
is.
it's so clearly different perspectives on the same nature, right?
Yeah.
They're just using different vocabulary.
Absolutely.
And that's
yeah, and is not Freemasonry sort of it's kind of been a key for me, you know. It's been a key particularly to the Abrahamic religions. You know, we talk about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and I think that Freemasonry is especially situated to like really turn the keys and open up some of the deeper doctrine of Abrahamic faith and the Abrahamic symbology. You know, who knows? I mean, getting a little conspiratorial about it maybe, but that might be why you see the persecution, or one of the reasons why you see the persecution of Masonry, at least from the Vatican and from other organizations, you know, is that we have certain, you know, interpretive keys that unlock some of their locks, you know.
So here's a question for you, and this sounds like it's right. It might line up more with your first book, but if all of this esoteric conception was happening in the 16th and early 17th centuries, right? And this is when it was all coming. It was also an age of horrendous religious persecution.
Right.
Right? If you said anything that wasn't verbatim what the church says, you're going to get either burned, hanged, or beheaded. And here we've got all these esotericists, all this Rosicrucian philosophy that starts coming out, and all this stuff is leaking out. And yet, I don't think I've read anything about those people being persecuted.
Try Yates, Frances Yates.
Yeah?
The Rosicrucian Enlightenment. Yeah, she does a good job with that. So she takes it into the court of the Habsburgs, and right around the 30 Years' War, which was, the Reformation and Catholicism and their schism in Central Europe and things like that, or their not schism really, but skirmishes, up to and including the 30 Years' War. She does a great job. She's a tremendous historian. She also did Giordano Bruno in the Hermetic tradition, which was...
Oh, nice. Frances Yates. All right.
Yeah, she's
That'll be
dead.
a link to that will be on the website after the show.
Yeah, it's great. But I know what you mean. Yeah, there's... It's weird how that sort of Renaissance era occultism, let's say, or esotericism that you see with, like we were talking about before we came on, Jakob Burma. You see it with, Swedenborg or Heinrich Kuhnrath, Cornelius Agrippa. Certainly Ficino, Pico della Mirandola.
How were they allowed to spread all of this Enlightenment wisdom that they were unearthing or rewriting or decoding or whatever?
Giordano Bruno, case in point, went the way of Galileo. Burnt at the didn't Galileo get burnt at the stake? Or
he was
got put
confined to house arrest, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he died in house arrest. Yeah. So Giordano Bruno, 1600, I think was the year he got burnt at the stake, because he was unrepentant in his kind of heretical views on magic, particularly. But
sorry, our special guest Pete Ruggieri, who is special, is annoying us through the window behind us.
He's on a Zoom call with the Valley of Reading.
Because he is a 12-year-old, yes. Anyway,
all right.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. No problem. I'm sorry, Larry. I distracted the conversation.
Ask your second question.
That was important to me.
No, you did not. I did want to mention, too, before we get off this, tell us a little bit about your Masonic credentials. You're master of your lodge in Arizona. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we chartered a lodge 3-4 years ago. We were under dispensation for a year. We got our charter a year after that, and we really, we kind of built it from the ground up. And I think a lot of us came together, with greater or lesser experiences in our respective blue lodges and mother lodges and affiliate lodges and things like that we had all been in before. So we took kind of the best developed practices, in addition to following the sort of MRF model pretty closely, Masonic Restoration Foundation, Andrew Hammer and that.
Sure.
So yeah, that was required reading for us when we were in like the steering committees. And anyway, we chartered that a few years ago. There were 2 masters before me. I'm the third master of this lodge. It's Ascension Lodge number 89. I'm in my first year, but we do 2-year terms. Like I was saying before, so we could, the first year is kind of getting your bearings and everything. And then that second year is when you get to kind of implement bigger picture programmatic stuff and get your ideas moving forward.
I think that fits for the times. You need that time. You need that settling in to figure out what the rules are.
I like that 2-year idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot of lodges who do it. I mean, I hear it here and there, I hear it, but we just decided to do that. And like I was saying earlier, we decided to keep our bylaws very skeletal, very minimal, so we could have sort of, what was the quote you were saying?
He governs best who governs least.
Yeah, precisely. So that's kind of been a central ethos of ours is, keep it fluid, keep it flexible, make sure, we have room to grow. Our culture, you're talking a 3 or 4 year old lodge doesn't have, yeah, you got an egregore, but it's like a baby egregore, and you want to leave some room for growth and for cultural fluidity, for your culture to develop as new members. You start making Masons, and things change, and you get affiliates from other lodges, but we're pretty stringent about the West Gate. We got some, things in order. Like we do a candidate dinner before we even offer a petition or anything. We require that they come around for at least 6 months, and then if they've gotten in everybody's face, and we can say, "Oh, I know him," if everybody in our lodge could say, "I know that guy," then we schedule a candidate dinner.
I like that.
We got stuff like that.
Very, very similar to a traditional observant lodge.
Right. Yeah, he said his MRE, or MRF.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, Larry, you brought up. You said traditional observance. Like a lot of people here in Arizona will say that, Ascension Lodge is a traditional observance lodge, or they're a continental style, or they're an observant lodge, or they're this kind of hyphenated masonry or that kind of hyphenated masonry. And I say, no, our thing is like, nope, we're a blue lodge, just like your lodge, except we've got different cultural stuff that we do. We like to have candles. We like to have incense. We like to have ambient lighting. We like to have music. We like to wear tuxes. We insist on eating good food. We like to bring good speakers out, So it's like, there are certain things we insist on culturally, but I don't call you a cowboy lodge just because you guys are wearing bolo ties.
So what's your position on prime rib? I just need to know.
I'm a vegetarian, so I miss it.
Great.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, like a 20-year, something like, like a 15, 20 years vegetarian.
That's funny.
With a couple of cheats here and there.
We have some listeners that are on either end of the prime rib camp. So I just had to figure out where you were on the scale.
No, I'm a brisket guy, or like machaca.
Ah, there you go. All right, it's very it's very vegan, that brisket. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break, regather ourselves here, let Larry go and pee, and then we'll come back with a little more Jaime Paul Lamb.
Give us 3. Stay with us.
At the Historic Smithton Inn of Ephrata, Pennsylvania, we're pleased to serve the latest creations from Weathered Vineyard Winery, along with spirits from Thistlefinch Distillery in Lancaster, all to be experienced in the tasting room of a beautifully restored 18th century bed and breakfast. Cigars by D&S Cigar are available for your enjoyment in the courtyard. The Historic Smithton Inn is convenient to Lancaster County's most interesting attractions. Just minutes from the Ephrata Cloister and the Green Dragon Farmers Market, and a short drive can get you to charming Lidditz, thriving downtown Lancaster, as well as Hershey, Bird in Hand, and Intercourse, or Valley Forge and Gettysburg. Whether you're looking for a romantic getaway or an active vacation full of sightseeing and attractions, the Historic Smithton Inn will be a welcoming oasis from everyday life, one that you'll want to visit again and again. Stop in and visit at 900 West Main Street in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, or check out our website at historicsmithtoninn.com, or simply call us at 717-733-6094. Just ask for Past Master Dave.
Larry's ADD's kicked in.
We're back, and you might be shocked and surprised, but Larry is struggling with technology right now. So
I can't get into my emails. Jesus.
Okay, but Jaime, thanks for sticking around. During the break, we often do our best interviews when we're not recording anything. So during the break, Jaime mentioned that he might even disagree with some of the stuff that he's written 3-4 years ago. So Jaime, like what?
Yeah, so like you said, we were talking about you write, you learn things, and over the course of some years, sometimes your opinions change, your position on something changes, or you find that you're just flat out wrong about stuff, and I did my best on Myth, Magic, and Masonry. That came out in 2018, and it consisted of some of that stuff is as much as 10 years old. Mm-hmm. Some of that stuff literally comes from some of my first papers that I was writing, years ago. And I reworked it, and I tried to stick it into a piece, and it was my first book, and I didn't know how to write a book, and there were some crazy, and, thanks to Jason Marshall for editing that, and Matt Anthony for doing the layout and everything, and The Laudable Pursuit. They did a tremendous job with that book. So I'm not knocking that book. I am saying, here's one big idea. You were talking about magic and stuff earlier, and obviously I deal with magic in that book. It's in the title, in the Masonic context, but here's one thing that's changed for me. I used to think of magic as being sort of this, what they call the psychological model, where it's this Jungian kind of thought form, and you can, project it out into the world and cause change according to your will, and this Crowleyan definition of magic and these sort of ideas. And,
okay.
But now I have completely done a 180 on that. So now my idea, when I think about magic, I think of an ensouled cosmos. It's no longer this closed circuit, sort of solipsistic, psychological model.
That's such a much more mature perception of it, because it's, a million people will go through that same evolution of thought.
Yeah, but I'm stuck on The Witcher on Netflix, and I like the old-fashioned definition of magic.
And you can still have that, Larry.
Can I?
You can. So everybody, I'm not saying that the psychological model, because a lot of people are in that world or in and out of that world. I'm saying in a certain domain that works. But my baseline kind of idea magically right now, my paradigm that I'm currently working in over the past at least 2-3 years or something like that, has to do with an anima mundi, that the cosmos has there's a spirit of the world, and it's an animated cosmos. So it's a lot like the Gaia principle, you could say, if you want to bring it into a more modern idea. But this goes back, this is a theurgical Neoplatonic idea that goes back from well before Alexandria even. It goes back to Babylon.
Right.
So, and probably as far back as Sumer, maybe even further than civilization, maybe Göbekli Tepe or something. But this idea of magic is sort of predicated on the idea that there is a medium, a spirit, an ensouled cosmos, a spirit medium that we work with,
right.
And we draw down celestial. You draw down Venus through a copper talisman, let's say, that's engraved with the Venus symbol on it. You draw down Mars by bitter plants and things like that, or by the color red. There's synthemata that we bring these celestial forces, and angelic, and also demonic. And I want to clarify that when I say demon, I mean it in the Platonic sense, so not the Linda Blair.
Right. And I think listeners would be surprised to hear that this is not a radical concept for Freemasonry and Masonic thought. I mean, this is Pike.
Yeah.
This is maybe not Mackey so much, but these are concepts that have been threaded through Freemasonry from those
times. And it's baked in. I mean, we
right.
follow nature through her, using geometry through her hidden recesses. You know what I mean? Even that's got a magical connotation. Plus, what do we do before any great and important undertaking? We invoke the blessing of deity. We theurgically ask for intercession of
right.
a cosmic entity.
Right. So why should the concept be so foreign, right?
Yeah. We ask a cosmic entity to theurgically intercede in our work on the earth. That is precisely theurgy.
Yeah.
That is what Theos Ergos, working with God. It's exactly what we're doing. Yeah, it's awesome. Massive.
Okay, Larry.
Totally awesome. I just want to admit one thing here. I did screw up your address.
I knew you did.
You and I were able.
So did we.
You and I were able to communicate when you sent me an email, and I was able to come right back to you.
Because I was sending the email.
Yeah, when I was giving your email address out, it was Jaime. I was doing it wrong, totally wrong.
You didn't have to admit that because it was.
Yeah, I did. I have a lot of listeners that enjoyed me admitting that.
Right.
He's such fodder.
Tell me one thing about your new book. How can people go about getting that?
So you know what's funny? It's not on Amazon yet, which is a blessing and a curse because I don't think people in Europe can get it from Lulu right now. So some of my readers, outside of the United States, they have to wait for the Amazon thing.
Are you going to pull it from Spotify? I'm just asking for a friend.
I would go there. I mean, like I'm like, well, you kind of open that door. Let me just say that. Yes. Let's say personally, now I'm not in the mix, and my ideas about things are personally. I like that Joe Rogan can go on his podcast and do like we're doing and talk to people, and just have some controversial people on, have some mainstream people on. I thought he's always done a great job of mixing it up and being honest and admitting when he's wrong.
You're being reasonable. Stop. Just stop.
So, and here's what I don't like. So I'm Generation X, right? And I'm sorry if I'm going to offend anybody right now, but I can't stand the hippie generation. I just don't like. I don't like hippie stuff.
No,
sorry,
I
Larry.
No, I wasn't. I was 18 when the hippie generation.
He was Navy.
I'm
in the Navy.
World War II baby. I'm that generation.
Yeah. So when you see these people like what's his name, the Neil Young and Stephen Stills and Graham Nash and Joni Mitchell and these people getting so uptight when they should weren't they the people who like marched for free speech and stuff like that 50, 60 years ago? So I don't know.
Yeah, that was my my ironic observation was the picture of Kent State. And I said I remember when dissent was not tolerated.
Yeah.
Right.
So
what else you got, Larry?
All right, yeah, let's Larry wants to talk about music.
So anyway, to get your book right now, the new one, you got to go to Lulu, is that right?
No, you go to triaprima.com. That's TRIAPRIMA. It's actually .co. So triaprima.co. There is no M there.
Okay.
Triaprima.co, or you could just Google Jaime Paul Lamb, the Archetypal Temple, and it'll show you.
And how do we spell that, Jamie?
Archetypal Temple is ARCYPAL space TEMPLE.
I
didn't even spell that right.
I was ripping on Larry. He couldn't get that right either.
No, I totally screwed that spelling up too.
Yeah, I mean, last thing, just to cinch up that whole Joe Rogan thing, I'm not an expert. I'm not a sociologist. I don't know about this sort of stuff. I don't even really follow it too much, but my knee-jerk reaction is like, if you don't like it, don't listen to his podcast. I mean, is that so wrong? Let people do what they want to do. And then if you want to do something else, you do something, don't support it if you don't want to support it. But calling for other people to, I don't know. There's some issuhes there. I think there's some logical problems.
Listeners are encouraged to send their cards and letters to Jamie Doesn't Care at P.O. Box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody's complaining about our podcast because nobody's listening.
Not yet.
One of
Not
the
yet.
four is going to send a letter, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a can of worms. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
So, Larry, go.
Pete has just joined us.
Ta-da.
Hey, Pete.
Welcome, Pete.
Yeah, welcome, everybody. I was busy in the Rose Croix world. Our current most wise master actually understands the fact that we all don't know everything.
Well, that's a good thing.
And he's like, nobody ever gave me any information when I was going through the line. And he's making sure we know exactly what we're supposed to do at every step along the way.
Good.
And it's so refreshing that I think it's like I'm going to walk out and I'm going to get punked. Like something weird's going to happen.
Okay. Why don't we talk a little about another area? We want to digress a little bit. We want to talk about your music.
Okay. So, I've been a musician my whole life. I was in punk bands when I was a teenager, and then through my 20s, I played a lot of jazz. I played a lot of just like garage rock music. I played like a 60s Vox Continental organ, and we did like Seeds tunes and stuff like that. And I've done all kinds of. We've got a group called the Gnomes I'm doing right now, which is sort of a Velvet Underground type of band, kind of a power pop kind of thing. We've got
wait. Velvet Underground power pop. Let me get my arms around that. That's cool.
Well, like Loaded era Velvet Underground.
I am amazed by your catalog and the diversity of the music. It's wow. I need to find something that we can have rights to so we can use it at the opening of our show.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Well, and I've got a lounge exotica band I do too. I play guitar in a lounge exotica band. We got a keyboard player, we got a tenor sax, we got drum set, guitar, bass, and we write all of our own stuff. So we do bossa novas, sambas, Polynesian.
Does Bill Murray do a walk on?
That would be cool. We do like Les Baxter, Martin Denny sort of stuff in that world, and some like a lot of calypsos and all kinds of, a little bit of surf music, some ska, but just a mixed bag. And that's a really fun band. It's all instrumental and everything. But I think what Larry was talking about was my harmonium stuff that's up on my website. Is that what you were talking about, Larry?
Yeah, sort of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so up on my website, I got this thing called, I kind of developed and pieced together this system that I call astromusicology, right? Where you, and there are precedents for it, going back in history, but I've developed my own kind of version that I'm calling that, and it has to do with, I'll take a natal chart, like, because I'm an astrologer, part-time. I'm a part-time astrologer, but I'm certified Hellenistic astrology. I'm a member of the AFA and stuff like that. But anyway, so I'll take somebody's natal chart, and there's musical correspondences to the signs and the planets and the houses and the aspects and stuff. So you could take somebody's natal chart and look at the aspects, those geometrical shapes that kind of, those are intervallic relationships between planets, and planets are notes, and they're also modes and scales and things. So you could sit there, and if you're conversant with the correspondences between planets, signs, and aspects to notes, chords, and intervals and things, then you can sit there with somebody's natal chart on your music stand and literally just break out your.
Play their sign.
You could play their natal chart. You could play their
That's
life.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So it becomes musical notation, and cool.
Yeah. So I don't know of anybody doing that, and I offer that like as a service on my website. I'm like,
this sounds like a good DMT Joe Rogan crossover.
Hey, wait. So you've opened up another.
Here we go.
Another thing there. So who is willing to admit that they've done dimethyltryptamine before? Okay, we got two of you. I'm one as well. Yeah. So I made it in my kitchen. From Acacia confusa root bark, and proper acacia DMT.
Wow.
And
I got mine from a guy named George. I don't know.
Oh, you did the smokable?
Mine was in a pen.
Okay. Yeah, that's short acting. I did the tea the first time, and it lasted like 5 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, it was excruciating.
That's a long ride.
I probably have done it 5 or 6 times, and I hate it every time. I never look forward to it.
You don't recommend it.
No, I don't recommend it because it's not euphoric. It doesn't feel good, but it is extremely valuable. Like, you come away with it. You come away from it because you go through this ordeal, and you come away from it. Particularly if you're doing the tea, because it's such a protracted experience.
Can I say the Grand Lodge is probably listening to this right now?
They don't care.
Not his Grand Lodge.
So you should have PD Newman on sometime. He's a dear friend of mine. We text like almost every day. We talk on the phone a couple times a week. He wrote Alchemically Stoned: The Psychedelic Secret of Freemasonry.
Did you read that, didn't you? I think
I just finished it.
Yeah, somebody read it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic thesis, a mind-blowing thesis, and he's a really sharp cat. I've known him since right around the time that book came out, and I used to read his.
For people that aren't going to pick it up or might be interested in picking it up, that book is essentially a theory that the Eucharist was at one time spiked, and that these visions that were being had were being induced. And it's not, I mean, it lays out a reasonable argument for it. And, some of the things that are talked about, if you've experienced those kinds of things, you go, yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah. And you can see how it works. Yeah.
Well, Newman's thing specifically is that the acacia made its way into Masonic ritual because it's a DMT containing plant that made its way there through the Royal Society, particularly like Desaguliers and people like that, who were Royal Society and Masons. You know how you had Ashmole was in the Royal Society, and all of these people, and through like John Dee and Edward Kelly, I think they came in contact with, Newman's got the whole thesis down. I mean, if you ever want to really deep dive on that, have him on your show or something, because it's a pretty tight case he makes for that. I mean,
so I will never look at or in my mind the acacia plant in anything that we have to do with Freemasonry is going to have a different perspective in my mind from now on.
Well, yeah.
I can say with some certainty, finally, that I'm 80% sure that I am not still in the same peyote trip from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm 80% sure this is my real life, but there's still 20% of me that thinks
Vestigal.
This is still an illusion that I had 20 years ago that's just dragging on and sucks.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And you can never know, right? How do you prove that?
Yeah, exactly.
You're in the Matrix now.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We'll wrap up with Brother Jaime, and I don't know, and I'll see what you guys were smoking while I was gone, because apparently I was missing out.
As far back as the mid-1800s, records exist describing the pre-meeting tradition of brethren smoking cigars during and after gatherings. To this day, the practice of smoking cigars remains very much alive in many lodges. This custom is considered a time for brethren to relax, exchange ideas, and enjoy the simplicity and fellowship that is the very essence of our brotherhood. This is what Hiram Solomon Cigars is all about. Our starting principles are to bring Masonic brethren together in the harmony of a good cigar. Pull up a chair, sit back, light up any of our premium cigars, and enjoy the history. Hiram Solomon Cigars can be found at fine cigar retailers. For a complete list, visit HiramSolomonCigars.com or check them out on social media to find out when they'll be at a live event near you. Hiram Solomon Cigars is pleased to be the official cigar of the Masonic Light Podcast.
we're back with Jamie Lee Paul, our guest this evening, and a great guest he has been.
Jamie Lee.
Who are we with?
What I call? Oh, God.
You're thinking of Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's Jerry Lee. That's Jerry Lee
Billy
Lamb.
Lee Lewis.
Yeah,
He shot his bass player, for God's sake.
You're right.
Oh my word!
Jamie Paul Lamb. Oh, God. Take me out of this, will you?
Related to
Please,
RuPaul?
Send me home.
But Jamie, we greatly appreciate you spending some time with us here.
Jamie Lee. Oh.
Jamie Lee, Jamie Lamb.
All right.
So, as we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to cover with our listeners in
Yeah,
this
I
crazy
wanted to
circus
say-
here tonight?
I wanted to say thanks so much to you guys for having me on again. It's always a pleasure. Lots of laughs and lots of technical stuff with Larry and things.
There'll be a quiz later.
But yeah, so yeah, the new book's out. You can go to triaprima.com. You can go to my website, jamiepaullamb.com, and you can get it off of there as well. www.jamiepaullamb.com, and that's got my astrology and tarot and Masonic stuff and music stuff and my books and all kinds of stuff. There's also, I wanted to let people know about Esotericon in Virginia. So that's the June 10th, 11th, and 12th. I'm going to be out there in Virginia.
Do you know what city?
That's in Manassas.
In Manassas, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
not
that's
too far.
it's a really cool event if you've never been. It's Esotericon and Joe Martinez and those guys kind of put it together, and they do a great job. And so that's my big trip this year. But,
That's where we need a hospitality room with black lights.
There we go.
Then I got Colorado in July, like Denver, Colorado, the 29th and 30th of July, but a lot of domestic stuff, I think, Arizona stuff. So, but anyway, I hope to see some people, and I've got some other online things on a Superiority lecture series and stuff like that.
Well, again, thanks for being our guest. I think you're in the running for being our top returning guest. I think a third time
Absolutely, without a
It's a hard tie with Ed Stum.
Ed
though.
Stum,
Yeah.
he and Ed Stum are kind of neck and neck.
And they're
but-
completely different.
Wow. Wow. Dualism exhibited right there. That's,
right there. But thanks a lot, and we look forward. Actually, we may come see you down at Esotericon.
Yeah.
I hope you do. And who's the guy? Maybe we should do a show with me and the guy who's who were you just saying the other guy was?
Ed.
Oh, Ed Stum.
Ed Stum.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not sure he can
No.
go.
His head would explode.
He's an
It'd be a terrible
80-year-old Pennsylvania Dutchman that I think everything's outlawed.
He's the Grand Smoke.
He's great.
You
He's
guys
the best.
know Mark Stavish?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
very
We had him
well.
on the show.
He's been on our show numerous times, too.
He's really great. So he and I hung out in Long Beach a couple of months ago. We were together for a few days doing one of I don't know if I could talk about it. Anyway, he and I were both out there for a few days, and I got a deal with him where you know how he does the Institute of Hermetic Studies.
Right, right.
So later in the year, he tapped me to do an astrological course.
Oh,
in his
interesting. Great. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm picking up a 6-week. I'm going to be doing a 6-week course for his Institute of Hermetic Studies, and I knew you guys probably knew him.
Oh,
out
yeah.
there.
Yeah, he's a...
I'm flashing right now on how it might have been in like 1640 with people who got together and said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna print this thing that I'm gonna." Same deal, just 400 years later.
Back then they had
Right.
lick toads, though. So now we have science.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're still licking toads.
We're still looking toads, right?
All right.
All right, Jamie. Well, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank
All
you,
right, brother.
Jamie.
Thank you.
Take care. Good night.
In Masonic news today, at a recent meeting of the Grand Bushel of the Ancient Order of Green Beans, it was announced that the Supreme Vine would prohibit the boiling of green beans
and that only steamed green beans would be acceptable at all green bean functions. Disgruntled members took to social media to express their outrage. It appears that the fraternity has ripped open its once cherished veil of secrecy. It now seems permissible to air the dirty laundry of every appendant body on FaceTwit or some other internet soapbox. From crumbling crusaders to misbehaving motorcycles, if anyone wants to understand declining membership, just look at what damage is being done by putting this pettiness online. Don't share that nonsense. This isn't middle school. That's the Masonic News. So motive was.
And now we go to our French green bean correspondent, Larry Merris.
Well, I just want to say I've got a tin can full of bacon grease that I insist on including with my green beans. I don't care what. I don't care what the
bacon bits.
Yeah,
bacon bits. Yes.
A green bean should be eaten al dente, half raw, in order for it to taste.
Oh, this is better than the prime rib debate.
Of a green bean.
Right? Now we've got...
Please don't butcher my people's language.
With that guy Al? Al dente?
Al dente.
Yeah.
That's how you get what's that gangster from Manila?
Yeah.
Sal Manila?
Salmonella.
Filipino gangster.
Nice. All right.
Oh, wow. So, what a good show.
It was a good show. And a great interview. Really always enjoyed this, the third time Jamie's been on the show.
And I don't know how much of that is going to make the air, especially when I came rolling. I came in rolling in late and came in like, so what about DMT? And I just started getting on weird, took him on a tangent, and he rolled with it.
Man.
So we'll see. But Esotericon.
Yeah.
I think we need to get a hospitality room there.
I think we may do a hospitality room down in Manassas.
Chief Harvey maybe knows people, so if we get arrested, he can maybe keep us out of
that could be
the
helpful.
hole.
That could be helpful.
We let Chief and Miss Rita know we're coming down. We might be interesting.
I bet we could smoke cigars on his porch.
And drink on his porch.
I wonder if he knows where to get good liquor.
Oh.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Just saying.
He can get the store-bought or the homemade.
I don't want to go down a stereotypical line, but he's a retired police chief of Irish descent. And I feel confident that he may be able to direct us.
Put my faith in thee. Yes.
All right. What is that? Does anybody have anything coming up that they want to talk about?
Well, I've got a calendar full of stuff.
You go first while I start to figure out.
All right. You can, everybody can take a break.
I do have this Irish joke, though, we can get into.
Well, we can save that for the closing.
All right. That's a good one.
Yeah.
We'll determine that.
So,
you might have to.
So coming up, I've got Samuel C. Perkins Royal Arch Chapter is having its February meeting coming up on Monday the 14th. Later that week, I will be in District 15 for those secretaries and treasurers. They're doing a district-wide training that some of us will be up at. And let's just say that the training team always has a good time there. We go up the night before. We eat dinner at the Camelot Restaurant. There is a wonderful cigar place up there.
Where is...
It's in District 15. If you go up 81 to,
do they have
to
round
New York
tables?
And then back up. It's up in that very extremely northern... Hop Bottom is the name of the place that we're doing the training. Right. So the following week, I'll be in Allentown doing the same kind of mischief for those brethren over there. In between, really, Cigar Lodge number 1 will meet on the 20th. We're going to be at Cigars International on the 20th, so if you're available, come join us there for a great fellowship time. And that's about it.
Jack, I know you're going down to not Manassas, Virginia, but another part of Virginia, Crystal City.
Going down for Masonic Week. I'm just driving down Friday, overnight one night, back Saturday, just to put my toe in the water. There's a couple of jewels I'd like to acquire, and
give our best to superfan Simon Polkinghorn. I wish I could be there, but puppies.
I will. Yeah. Simon. I already messaged him to look forward to seeing him on Friday.
I'm really sad that I had to drop out because I had some other things come up. But Masonic Week really is a good.
But he already got his York College school honor badge, so he doesn't need to go anymore.
No, that's not it at all. I mean, I always enjoy that, and especially enjoy the fellowship. I mean, Pete and I had a great time down there last 2 years ago.
I'm very uncomfortable in crowds like that. I
think you'll do okay.
We'll see how we do.
We can teach you the secret.
I'd love to
It's
know.
usually about 92 proof, and that usually helps.
Yes.
Well, sometimes yes. Well, that remains to be seen. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going down for that. And then after that, it's really just grandbabies, work and grandbabies. That's my life right now. Work and lodge and grandbabies.
Senor Merris?
Oh. I
You got to get closer to the mic.
I don't really have a lot of things going on. Merger committee is still very active.
Grand Tall Cedar Larry Merris, what do you have coming up this month?
Coming up this month? Well, yeah.
I love it.
Masonic Seafood Night at was it Yoder's? No, Shady Maple. Shady Maple, last Tuesday of the month.
And Shady Maple was just featured in all the statewide newspapers.
Yes,
I heard about that.
Whoa.
Great press.
What award?
At least 2 paragraphs in the food reports by the state.
Well, the good news is, though, it'll be cleaned up by the time we get there.
Oh, man. You're just a thrill.
Breakfast Mountain.
You probably won't get COVID, but there's always a chance of Legionnaire's disease if that steam table's at the right temperature.
So, Pete, how about you? What do you got coming up?
That Tall Cedars and Goodwin Council. I will make an appearance this month because I promised.
Yeah, you're speaking.
Yeah, that's about it masonically. At the end of the month, this kind of like things slow down for me. So,
when is the Valley of Reading bowling event? Or is it? I'm sorry, it's Lancaster.
It's the Lancaster Lodge of Perfection bowling
I'm
event.
sorry.
And then there's also a Zembo Shrine is doing a mini golf throughout the building.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. So I'll post something on our Facebook page for both of those. That'll be more timely than this podcast.
I do want to say one thing about Tall Cedars. I forgot to mention our special guest speaker that night is none other than Jack Harley, who will be, from what I understand from Junior Grand Tall Christopher Gibson, you're going to be talking about St. John. And I said to Chris, I hope he makes it funny, because to talk about just St. John.
There's nothing funny about the second degree in Freemasonry.
So anyway, Jack will be our guest speaker, unless now with me mentioning this, he doesn't show up.
I got to figure out what to talk about. Oh my gosh.
Well, if you show up with one shoe, then you're halfway there.
Josh, what do you got going?
I'm freewheeling. I don't got much going on.
Now, I know you're a germphobe, so will you be at Shady Maple Buffet with us?
Probably not.
That's great. Well, another great episode has drawn nigh to closure. Larry, you ready to wrap us up?
Yeah.
All right, Josh, cue up them
Do
chickens.
this here.
Hey!
There we go.
Hey! Special thanks to Everett Lodge 665 for making this broadcast studio possible. Thanks to Josh Lamberton, our producer and director, who continue to make this show listenable. Notice how strong my voice is after...
Josh Millersville.
really-
Josh Lamberton
medicine.
Killer, by the way.
Yeah, Lamberton Killer. Thanks to Jack Harley, our news director, Timmy Dedman, our marketing director, and our Masonic Light contributors, Michelle Snyder and Doug Maddenford. I just have one thing I want to close up with a little story I heard the other day, and actually, I don't know whether this is going to pass muster or not. If they hear just a beep, 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 it didn't work. But I'm Irish, so I can tell this story. John O'Reilly hoisted his beer and said,